Hi, everyone. Thank you and welcome to this episode of Think Tank Thursday. I'm Candi and I'm not Beth Stanley. I'm filling in and I'm excited to be spending this time with you. On Thursdays, TrainerTainment likes to take a little bit of time away from the frenzy of doing and spend a little bit of time thinking. And we will be thinking today with really a thought leader in our industry. So first, though, I've got to give a shout out to these beautiful sponsors that you see on the side. We have Creative Works, Redemption Plus, Embed, People First, Party Center Software, Simnox, Hagar Communications. Without them, Think Tank Thursdays would not be coming to you guys each week. So we're grateful for their support. Now, the most exciting part of the week, we get to meet our guest. So why don't you take a few minutes and tell everyone who you are and what it is that you actually do?
Yes, my accountant would love to know what I actually do. Yes. Thank you very much, and really appreciate the opportunity to be asked to present here. It's interesting times that we live in, but at least we're able to share some interesting information. To any of you that don't know me, my name is Kevin Williams. I run something called KWP, which is a specialist consultancy in the out-of-home entertainment market. I also publish the scurrilous opinion piece filled newsletter, The Stinger Report, that goes out every week. I also present at a number of conferences. To put in a nutshell what I specialize in, I work in the immersive out-of-home entertainment sector. So everything that we do is out of home. It is pay-for-play entertainment sector. I come from a background in both the amusement industry, the simulation industry, and the theme park industry. For my sins, I'm a ex-Walt Disney Imagineer, but I also have worked for a number of video game companies. And really what we're doing is gamification and immersive technology are really finding a way into the very DNA of the industry that we work in, and trying to apply this technology to this sector is very difficult, especially for companies that aren't specialists or technologists in this. And a lot of what I do as a consultant is try and help them. I work with developers of new technology. We work with investors that are putting money into these projects, and we also work with the operators that have to make these things generate a revenue. And along with that, I do writing to try and share the wealth. My ego is so big that I want to share it with everyone.
Now, before we started, I was talking about how he's like Hamilton. He's writing like he's running out of time. There's always great pieces out there from Kevin. Speaking of your writing, you've been pushing and using a hashtag recently, Spring Back. Can you share how that hashtag was born, and then what do you feel its importance is?
Oh, well, I blame Beth for the hashtag. I use a lot of hashtags. One of the things as a marketeer, the stuff that I have to do for clients in marketing is to get a message across quickly and succinctly. And using hashtags is not just for Twitter. Turkey isn't just for Christmas. The hashtag can be used as a kind of a coat hook that you put an idea or a expanse on. And we have things like, if you go on to Facebook and Twitter and type in hashtag TechWatch, you'll come across a lot of my technology observations. That's the coat hook that I use for that. But speaking with Beth and fantastic work that you guys have been doing, it was clear that our industry was kind of sleepwalking into how we were going to move forward after things calmed down a little bit. You know, we were already seeing certain states and countries that were coming out or beginning the process of coming out of lockdown. And a lot of them were doing it blindly. And there wasn't a rallying point. There wasn't a point we could promote to our guests to tell them that our facilities were going to be coming back on stream. And we didn't have a means for our industry to gather around a central point and share our ideas. And so really that's where the hashtag Spring Back came from. Some people have suggested it should be Spring Forward, but I think Spring Back gets our point across and also gives us a little bit of leeway to maybe tie our hopes to the spring break and the Easter spring that is coming along.
So I'm sure you'd love some unity from the industry. So if everyone can start using hashtag spring break with some promotional items and all of those things, it will bring us all together with this industry coming back and ready for Q2, Q3, and beyond there.
I think spring back is important. Whatever the term is, if we can get behind it as an industry, that's the important thing.
Gives us a lot of leverage then. I'm going to throw you a curveball of a question that I didn't prep you with. So I studied your background a little bit, but you've kind of emerged as a lot of your writing is about tech, AR, VR, that stuff. So how did the love for that aspect of the industry, like, is there a moment that you can pinpoint that you're like, that's the thing I really love?
My family, my father was in commercial vehicles. My mother was in the Home Office here in the UK. And they allowed me great latitude to play with things, to take things apart, to ask questions. I always ask questions. And I am forever grateful for the key point that my father made to me. My parents sat me down just as I was getting involved with certain projects and certain things, and they said it's clear that people want to utilize your experiences, your inquisitiveness, your design skills and all of that, but we would really suggest that you find a vocation rather than employment. So rather than just jumping at the first thing that came along and offered the most money, that you actually found something that created a means for you to spring out of bed. Oh God, we're back to spring back. No, to jump out of bed and want to keep on doing what you're doing. And it really was the thirst for technology. First with the arcade machines, then with the early microcomputers, then with simulation technology, then with theme park technology, and now just an overarching hunger for all kinds of immersive tech that work in the out-of-home sector. So really, I don't look at this as technology. Do you call your washing machine your Hoover technology? No, it's a tool that you use to achieve a certain outcome, be that ruining the color of your clothes or sucking up great holes out of your carpet. The main aim here is what the tool is trying to achieve. And here, with the type of work that we work in, is entertainment, is fun. And I'm a big fan of technology that makes things fun.
Awesome. Yeah, I was just wondering about that when I was reading about your background, because it definitely has emerged that you are, if people want to know about those things coming out, I go and look at your stuff to be some of the first. All right, we've talked a lot, and you've been on Pure Talk with us about market trends and the things that are coming out and what 2020, what it will lead to in terms of market trends. And this may be a big loaded question, but if you had to simplify it to 3 market trends that you felt will have the biggest impact on our audience, what do you think those would be, and why do you say those particular ones?
So as we are now deeply ensconced in 2021, sadly, time is flying. What are the key trends that really we're going to be seeing in the next 6 months as we emerge out of the chaos and the confusion and dust ourselves off? Yes. If I knew those answers, I'd be sitting on a beach earning 20%. But obviously, I wouldn't be able to sit on a beach because I wouldn't be able to fly out of this country. So
go anywhere.
Yeah. Friction is the big trend, I think, that we've all had to wake up to. The entertainment industry, this part of the entertainment industry, was one of the most intransigent to adopt e-payments and online booking and social media. I remember the hell and high water I had when I started sending out emails and ran a website covering the industry by certain members of our sector that were telling me that this fad was going to go away. Yeah, the internet will go away. Yeah. How's that working for you guys? The concept is now that frictionless payment means that we have a closer contact with our customers, that we can use social media and social advertising to get to these customers and to help their experience. We can now maximize the payment And that's one of my bugbears about our industry. I think we give away our entertainment too cheaply compared to other sectors and other industries. And also the nice thing about having frictionless payment and online connected payments is it gives us a better picture, snapshot of how our businesses are working, and so we can improve our business. So that's frictionless.
That's interesting, because I do feel what you're talking about, how it connects everything. We lack, because we use so many systems to get that perfect working facility. A lot of times you have online payment, you have embed systems, you have all of those things. We lack a 360 view of our consumer a lot of times. It's hard to get that. And so with this frictionless payment and connecting it to like online and those things, it's another way that we can find out more about those people.
The amusement industry, and I'll deal with the amusement industry here rather than the theme park or the FEC side, but the amusement industry, I've had this issue where when we speak with manufacturers of entertainment systems, certain companies, entertainment systems, and I go, and what does your customer base feel about this? And they go, well, the distributor think. And I went, no. I said, the customer base. He goes, oh, well, the operators think. I said, no. The people who pay our wages. And they look at me blankly and I say, the players. And they go, well, that's really for the operators to do. Oh, that's really for the district. You know, it's sort of like we manufacture bread, and the only people we care about are the bread delivery drivers. We're not really caring about if the customers can fit these things in their toaster, or if it even tastes good. We've had that kind of problem for a while in our sector, and it's now forced to adopt frictionless payment, online registration, social media, CRM systems, means that those nasty, smelly, awful people that walk through the front door of the facility, we're going to have to get to know. And it's a job. This is the only entertainment industry that I work in that has not really embraced its customer base and has paid for that. And I think those lessons are going to be learned there.
I'll let you say 2 and 3 in a second, but it's funny. My background's hospitality, mainly restaurants, and I've been a trainer since in college. That's how I paid my way through. And anytime I did a training class, I used to say, who pays you? Yes. And, you know, they all just kind of look at me and they're like, tell me the name of the person who owns that restaurant or whatever. And I'm like, no, they don't. The people who you serve or who pays you, because if they quit coming in, then there is no money to behind those checks to give you. And so they may own this restaurant or this facility, but they don't pay you. It's a passing of funds from the people who actually pay you.
Who benefits? The great Roman Greek retort, and really we don't ask that question enough. And it's part of the look. We're celebrating our 50th anniversary from the video amusement industry's perspective. 50 years ago, Nolan Bushnell and some of his friends put together a machine called Space War, which was the first video arcade machine. Now, there was already an amusement industry out there. You know, skee ball was, 50 years old by the time they were playing around with video games. There was the crane games had been out there. The pinball industry had a long history. But it wasn't until really the video games industry appeared that we had a means to offer a much more immersive and a much more dynamic entertainment offering. And at that point, we split into 2 sectors. We split into the industry that hoped that the old school was going to continue. And we split into the new industry, which wanted to push the technology as far as possible to see what it could achieve. And I stuck my star upon the technology industry with the understanding that it isn't technology that makes fun. It is technology that allows fun to happen. And I will still put a skee ball in a facility when we're designing a concept, even though it hasn't got the bells and whistles, it hasn't got a joystick, it's fun, it works, and the audience likes it. And we're getting to that stage now where if we don't start asking the customers a lot more questions about what they want from us, someone else is going to come along and eat our cheddar. And there are a number of people that I'm consulting with now who have nothing to do with amusement industry, have nothing to do with the theme park industry, who are coming in brand new. And the only thing that drives them is creating profitable, fun entertainment facilities. And if you talk about the amusement trade and all of that, they just look at me blankly and go, that's your stuff, Kevin. You know, that's why we hire you to advise us. But really, we're focused on treating this as a business, and businesses need to talk to their customers, need to be effective and cost effective, and need not to piss people off. And one of the things that we've had a habit of in our sector is sometimes being a little bit too arrogant about what we're prepared to offer rather than listening to what the customer wants.
Interesting. Okay. I'll let you go to 2 and 3 now.
Oh dear. So yeah, your question really. We have the question here of I speak often about how the industry's evolving or needs to evolve, and I think I need to say that I'm not a hater of the industry. This is an industry that has given me my career and has allowed me to grow, but nothing is perfect. Okay, and we have to live with the understanding that, as my parents said, you judge an industry by the new faces you see and by the dynamism that it engenders. You know, we need to grow, and to grow, we have to embrace new activities. And one of the things I notice is that a lot of our industry is prepared to stick in the mud. So, you know, it's always been like this, Kevin. It doesn't really need to change. I'll give you a great example. A client of ours is purchasing a simulator system to go into their facility, and the distributor that will be installing it came to us and said, Kevin, you know, do we really need to put this new machine in? You know, we had these machines at the back of our warehouse that we would, you know, kind of like to clear. And I'm sort of saying, oh, that's great. So we get all the rubbish from the back of your warehouse just to help clear your warehouse. But, you know, we'll just do you a favor. I mean, no, that's not how business works. And I am unhappy that that kind of mentality actually exists in our industry. So we're at that point now where we need to grow up, evolve. And that means we need to take on modern thinking. We need to address some of our problems. And some of those problems are not just what type of machines we're selling, but also how we do business.
Got it. I think I cut you off earlier. So first of the top market trends is frictionless payment. What is the second of the top 3 trends?
Well, I'm a big fan of immersive entertainment, the ability for social engagement. So people have sort of heard a lot of what I talk about being focused on VR. VR is only one of the arrows in my quiver when it comes to immersive entertainment. And I'm seeing a lot of companies now developing projection immersive entertainment experiences that allow multiple people to get involved in a digital experience without having to put on a headset, not without having to put on glasses, and that they can do as a group. Best example of that would be Topgolf Swing Suite. If you haven't seen this brand that has popped up, building off of the Topgolf shooting range concept, then you need to look at this. Our friends Falcons Creative have developed their game suite system, and then we have a British system developed by a company called Electronic Game Room, which again allows people to get into the experience and the game wraps around them. No need for a head-mounted display that you need to clean, no need to wear funky glasses, no need for a joystick. And it's that kind of level of immersion, building on what we kind of saw a couple of years ago with what the Wii tried to achieve and sadly, half-heartedly managed to achieve, where you get a group of people around, you play together, it's very physical, you have a good time, fun. Those are the type of things we're seeing. And that's not just the projection technology. Immersive entertainment is also being applied to traditional experiences. So we now have miniature golfs that incorporates a ball tracking system that allows you to personalize your experience, and it allows it when the ball goes through certain of the animations of the miniature golf course and things happen. That's gamifying. That's gamifying a traditional experience. We have go-karts where there are either projected or physical items that are placed onto the roadway, and suddenly you're living a life-size Mario Kart. So it's not just about brand new whizzy tech, it's also about applying gamification, immersive entertainment to existing proven experiences.
Got it. Yeah, I have some ideas for immersive entertainment. And then I have some places
Let's
where
patent them first, though.
Yeah, where I feel like augmented reality is another part of it. And I've gone to some of those pop-up things that happen. I live outside of Atlanta, and so we often get those pop-up experiences. I did the Candi one and the Toys R Us one and stuff. But honestly, I felt like the augmented reality part of those, even though Toys R Us, that's a huge brand that came out, it was clunky and hard to manage and slow.
Slow. Not interactive, not fun. The technology let it down. These are, just because it's tech doesn't mean that it's good. Okay, so a lot of my work is evaluating. So when a company comes with brand new technology, the first thing is evaluating: is it reliable? Does it work? Is it correctly priced? Because there are limits to how much some operators are prepared to pay for technology. And the reason why you see a lot of these early augmented reality systems being used as pop-up experiences is it allows them to dip a toe in the water and see how much they can get away with the experience they're offering. I feel that the field of view is too narrow on the current generation of systems. I think that the technology can't achieve what the developers want. Every time a developer puts a proposal of a storyboard in front of me, it always looks great on paper, but when you get to try it, the last couple of attempts I've tried recently really did get let down by the quality of the technology. And so again, it's that balancing act. And as with virtual reality, I think we're close. No cigar. Augmented reality needs to go back in the oven for a little bit more time. Projection mapping, we're there. We are there. There are a couple of experiences that are 100%. And the next generation, the mixed reality systems, which are mixing virtual reality and augmented reality together, we're getting closer and closer to the prize. But remember, our industry doesn't really care about the technology. It cares about what the public is prepared to pay for the experience, and is the experience good enough to get them off of their very comfortable couch and away from their multiple screens at home. It's the one thing we really need to understand now, that no matter what we take away from the pandemic that we're going through now, is that the public has tried all of their toys at home and knows what those toys bring to them. They know about their Netflix. They know about how they've been using Zoom for conferencing and for work and for education. If we are offering anything in our business, it has to be at least 2 or 3 jumps beyond what they can do at home. So anyone showing me a video display in their facility that isn't 8K or isn't of a high performance 4K format, then it doesn't look as good as the one they have at home. And what the hell are you doing?
Yep. All right. What's your third market trend we should keep our eye on?
Oh, I have a kind of issue with Randy White is a very close friend of mine, and if you're not, or your audience is not subscribed to the White Hutchinson newsletter, it's kind of the clean and intelligent version of what the Stinger Report is.
Be prepared to read it, though. It's chock full of data. Like, you gotta process it.
And really, information is that. Taking information off the internet that's spoon-fed to you is fantastic, but really the internet should be a means for you to do more research rather than treating one piece of information as gospel and running with it. When you read the Stinger Report, I hope that you're going to look at the stories we're talking about and go off and do your own research to see how we came to our decision about what's happening, and maybe have a totally different one, and please share it if you can. And the same with Randy's, his graphs and the information that he condenses. And his focus is more on the hospitality side of the business. He looks at the people, the play and the statistics that tell us how eager individuals are to try certain activities. He also looks a lot at the food and beverage component of the market and how that fits in. And really, hospitality is one of those aspects that I see is going to be very big as a trend for us. That would be my third trend, purely because enough people have had enough of their home cooking and their deliveries. And part of the stir-crazy nature of the post-pandemic audience is going to be for something different and nice. And really, if your food offering, if your drinks offering, if your bar offering in your facility is not up to the match, then you could pull the whole of your operation down by that failing. And another thing that we're noticing when I'm talking about those miniature golf experiences, they're not just miniature golfs in a building, they're also miniature golf attached to a very high-end cocktail and food offering. And I think you'll be seeing a lot more adult style entertainment facilities popping up, which will look at the drinking being as important as the game that they're offering.
I'll tell you something that reading White Hutchinson's newsletter that years ago I started reading about, and I have followed it since because he introduced it to me. It's the baby bust. Like, I am fascinated by the baby bust and the number of births and how it has consistently gone down. And not just that, like, I understand its implications, but I have gone on the rabbit hole of why and what the different generations think about having families and all of that. So I'll give a shout out to them for, like, I am immersed, and anytime a new article comes out about birth rates or any of that, I'm totally reading it and looking at why.
A fascinating demographic from what we're going through with the pandemic is that before, as we were entering into March, and we knew, or certain sources knew that we were heading for this, we all started rushing back to the history books to look at what was the fallout after the Spanish flu epidemic of 1918. To be exact, 1918, if we're going to be exact. And, you know, there was the baby boom and the birth of the carny and the arcade industry and cinema and communication and electric lights. There were these kind of, you know, nice historical landmarks of what happened after the phenomenal death rate and the phenomenal impact that the pandemic had. And, you know, fingers crossed back in, you know, if you jump back to 2020, Kevin, you know, I was sitting there, fingers crossed that we were a sensible society and that we would work out a way of plowing through this. We wouldn't have the same kind of death rate, and that, you know, we would be able to benefit from these fractured opportunities that would come after the pandemic. Well, shows you the hubris of arrogance, doesn't it? You know, totally different thing. We have sadly gone through an incredibly high death rate. And, you know, we're not through it yet. And, you know, I hope that all of the watchers here are safe. But we have, you know, proven that even with our fantastic technology, we're still as, you know, as impotent as our friends in 1918 were. We have also seen the same kind of lunacy over mask wearing and treating technology to help us through this. They had the same problems then. But also there's a flip side. So not everything is the same. We haven't had the massive birth rate. We haven't had, over the last 9 months, or well, most of us have been locked up in between over 11 months now. But we haven't seen that massive birth rate. And so the argument about what Western society considers the right number of children is also being impacted by the lack of a high birth rate. And that hits all of the entertainment industry. And that you can see that reflected in some of the big developments that theme parks are developing now, where they're not developing kiddie kinds of experiences. They're developing kind of more adult kind of children, kind of teenager experiences. If your facility hasn't actually calculated the feasibility of your catchment audience around you, then you're going to be surprised that maybe your kiddie area, your soft play area may not get the use it used to before the pandemic. And maybe that jungle set or that climbing frame or that ball pit may have to come out and be replaced with a bar.
Yeah, that will be interesting to watch. Yeah, that's one of my most fascinating topics. It does affect us and the rest of the world. Moving on to the next, you took the time during the pandemic, like I said, writing like you're running out of time. You wrote a series of operators guides, and I think this was was this in partnership with Attraction Pros?
I partnered with anyone that would listen to me.
Got it. And so I don't know if all of our audience knows that those exist. So I just thought you could tell us like how many of those there were, what topics they cover, and like where can they be found and what, you know, their importance. I know Beth partnered with you on one of those there.
She was one of those that would listen to us. So I didn't want, as a consultant, my job is to go to companies that need help and offer advice which they pay me for. And the last thing I wanted to do was to be seen to be gouging people in the middle of a pandemic, especially when they were locked down. So it was essential that I felt that I was giving something back to the community that had helped me during my time and allowed me to get to the point that I am in my life, but also to try and share as much information. Our industry, and I'm including the theme park as well as the amusement and the FEC in this, we're really bad at sharing information. You know, and there's certain reasons why that is, and that's a conversation around a bar with a large drink, which I hope we will be doing together soon.
Fingers crossed.
But from my point of view, we created 6 of what were called operator guides, and we were lucky enough to do the first with Amusement Pros. Andrew Lawless and Lawless Marketing helped us with. Beth helped us with some. We've been very lucky, and the subjects that we covered were the subjects that I was charting in the Stinger report as being key during the pandemic. So the first one was, how do you relay out your facility? Well, the first one really was, what were the key issues that we needed to bear in mind? Again, coming from that research I was doing from the last pandemic, what were the kind of signposts that we could look for that we needed to be aware of? Then how we could lay out our facility to better address the needs of a COVID environment, removal of clustering, better signage, training requirements. Then we were really lucky to get a legal advice on board to come up with how to handle uncomfortable questions from our customers. What would be called the Karen moments now in 2021, we were treating as the difficult questions. Why should I wear a mask in my facility? Why are you open? You're endangering my kids, all of those type of things. We kind of came up with the soft and informative questions to try and deal with that, because not everybody has the skill set to deal with those kinds of painful questions, especially when they're frustrated in the middle of trying to keep their businesses going. Then we did one on the sales, of how to sell your operation, how to deal with that, and Beth was very kind to help with that. And the last one, the 6th one that we came out with, was just a retrospective of all of the key points some 11 months on, to see how many of those were relevant and how many of them are now even more impactful than previously. And what I'll do is I'll share a link with you so you can go to the whole collection. And it's interesting, they're not gospel, they're not written on stone. I didn't no burning bush. No Hogwarts magic wand over this one. The fundamentals are, it was an observation and asking experts or drawing from our own experiences how best to treat with this situation. And we were very lucky that 9 times out of 10 the information that we were imparting is still relevant and hopefully is still useful. I wanted it to be in a point where you could laminate the PDFs and stick them in your rec room or your employee's room, and they were kind of cues that they could depend on. And at the moment, nice responses, and I thank those people that have taken the time to say that they found them useful, and we want to share them with everybody. we're not we're inclusive here. We're not exclusive.
Exactly. Which is a great little segue into my last and what I feel is probably the most important question I'm going to ask you about today. You recently wrote a piece about diversity in the amusement industry. And if the audience hasn't read it, you can find it on his LinkedIn page. That's where I found it, quick access to it. I know it was published somewhere, but I don't remember where right now. It was a great piece. And I don't know which came out first, the panel for Show Up that you sat on about the same topic, diversity in the industry, or the piece. And I know this is a part one, but I'd love for you to tell our audience a little bit about that piece that you wrote and what you hope people take away from reading it.
Well, thank you for the comments about it. The piece was engendered by a very close friend of mine at Tourist Attractions and Parks. And if you're not familiar with that publication, it's one of those hidden secrets that us in the industry like to depend on for where we get our information. And Scott and his team turned around to me last year and said, Kevin, will you write us a piece on diversity in the amusement industry and the theme park industry? And you should know, because you're in a good position to perceive it from. And at first I thought, oh, this is a mountain to climb, but also it was an interesting journey. And so we wrote these two features. The first one was published in November. The next one will be published in March, I think. And I have the first one as a PDF up on our LinkedIn. I'm not sure if Bob and Show Up, I know Bob is a mentor to a number of the groups that we had at our diversity panel session at Show Up last week. So I don't know if one fueled the other, but it is Black History Month, so I suppose it's all synergenic. Again, talking about my parents, and the reason why I suppose the parents are on my mind at the moment, I was unlucky enough to lose my mother due to COVID. So it's a great time for reflection when you become an orphan.
I know. I'm so sorry to hear that. She had to be amazing because she raised this thought-provoking leader of thought in this industry, and to give you the space to think is so important. It's what we lack sometimes. And I know it's lacking in public education and stuff. We've got to give people space to think in their own way. And it sounds like she did that for you.
My mother and my father my father was a Cornishman from England. My mother was Antiguan from the islands. And they were very intelligent individuals, and they knew that their half caste, as the phrase we used to use there, their son of color, as the phrase we're using now, was going to have an interesting life, especially if he had a brain in his head. And so they allowed me enough rope to learn for myself what creates society and how business works. And to be honest, I don't actually see myself as black or white. Really, I see myself as a human trying to stagger through this chaotic and confusing society, as we all are. Some people feel that they can stagger better than others, and some are held back by various reasons. But for me, it was interesting to write a piece on diversity about our industry because it underlined my heartfelt disappointment that there is so few diversity in our industry. And I call diversity, the article was originally going to be, could you talk about the black experience in the industry? And I'm not a great fan of, pigeonholing. I like to say diversity. We need to see more women. We need to see more men. We need to see more of the other sexes that we have in our society. We also need to see more individuals that suffer from disability or grow from disability. Some of the most intelligent people I've dealt with weren't perfect, and as I keep on cracking a particular joke about perfection, but I feel that we all need to understand that we're all standing on this little spinning rock, hurtling in space, and if we don't all work together, we're all going to fall together. And if going back to the article, one of my points in the second part of the article is not just picking on those individuals that have managed to survive within the petri dish of our industry, that have come from different societies or from different races or creeds. It's also about how the future generations now, if we don't embrace diversity and if we miss that opportunity, then we will die as an industry. Because if we cannot grow, going back to my previous statement, and if we carry on the activities of what was acceptable in the 80s and the 70s and the 60s and try and bring that kicking and screaming into the noughties and into 2021, then it's not going to work. And if it's not going to work, then we're going to starve. And the other thing about diversity is that it brings in new viewpoints to your business. Being able to bring in new minds, new thoughts, comes up with new ideas that prove profitable, and your business grows. So it's always seemed stupid to me to try and keep people out, though I can understand for some of the gatekeepers in the industries, and not just this industry, but other industries, being a gatekeeper is a great way to hide your lacks, your inabilities, and also your concerns. And sometimes the people that I have to butt up against to get things done usually have some serious problems. I usually feel sorry for them rather than hate.
We have to change because we have to be a mirror of the people who purchase from us. And this world is diverse and beautiful, and everybody is different, and it's fantastic. And so we have to represent that as an industry. I also sometimes think about, and I know you talked about this on the panel a little bit, about letting people know what jobs even existed. I remember going to an IAPA event where they closed the park. And so there's no lines anymore. Oh, yeah. And walking through the magic of the line, and I just stopped, and my friend's like, why are you stopped? And I was like, it's someone's job to think about how this line goes. And I was like starting out in this industry, and it just hit me that is an entire job. Like the science, how do you make consumers happy? And like, it's amazing to me how many jobs are available, not jobs, vocations, careers, things you can get passionate about are available that we don't even tell up and coming people about.
Education is appalling in this sector. This is the only entertainment industry that I work in. I do work in the consumer games industry. I do work in the film industry. I do work in even the toy industry, because all of these products, these IPs, intellectual properties, have an impact in our sector. And if you read our latest Stinger report, you see that we covered the CES show, not because we think the consumer electronics products are important, but they have an impact on our business, and they also show us a direction in which we should be steering our branding. And people laugh when I bring them, especially investors, into this industry. They look at the out-of-home amusement industry, and they look at the location-based theme park industry, and they go, there's no qualifications. And I go, yeah, you're only as good as the last project you worked in. They go, but where is the educational structure? Where is the job structure? Where is the accreditation for this? Where is the encouragement of mentoring to bring new blood in from other industries and for other vocations? And I say, well, they're going to get round to it eventually, Hopefully there'll come along a pandemic that will force us to suddenly have to fight for our survival.
I will tell you, this pandemic has caused TrainerTainment to look at that 16 to 22 year group. And we have some big thoughts that are going on in the background about how we can help fill some gaps that if you read any statistic about them, they're going to miss out on some really important experiences that help build their resumes, and what we can do to help in that sector.
When I was with Walt Disney Imagineering, I was headhunted. So I was pulled kicking and screaming from England and dropped into Los Angeles, Burbank, to learn. And what they wanted was the expertise that I had, but they wanted it applied to the Disney mantra. So it was a two-way street. It was me bringing in technology, but them also imparting the correct way to do this. And it was an education. For the 4 years that I was with Imagineering, it was an education. And the last piece of the puzzle that they allowed me while I was there was guess what? Next month, you will be spending 2 weeks working at the park. Oh, great. What character am I going to play? No. You're working on the parking lot. And so there we were at the parking lot late at night, helping tired mothers, unhappy fathers, broken relationships, lost children, broken cars, flat batteries, all of that stuff. And at the end of the process, they sat us down as executives and they asked us certain questions about how we found the process. And we all got it. The most important thing about that Walt Disney experience was not the first person that you met, but the last person that you met at the facility. And if we could meet the expectations of those people, tired, who had spent vast amounts of money on a once in a lifetime in some cases or once in a year experience, if we could round that off and to the best of our ability and as professionally as possible, we had won. How many of the people watching this that run facilities think about the departing guest as much as they think about the guest that's coming into their facility?
It's an awesome question. I love that you had to do parking lot. I love that story. You told it once on Peer Talk, and it has stuck with me.
I was hoping if I'd stayed a couple more months, I would have got to be Goofy, because you did the parking lot, and then after that, a couple of months on, you then got to be a character. And sadly, happily, because of my height, there's only 2 or 3 costume characters that you can be if you're over 6 foot. And I was looking forward to being Goofy, but the gods pushed me in another direction, maybe in another life.
Fun fact, I've only seen you virtually, so I had no idea how tall you were.
Well, many people who know me know that I've been Goofy for a long time, so maybe it's just the character. For your information, I am 6'2".
All right. Obviously, you and I could talk for a long time, and I cannot wait for the day that I do get to sit down at a bar and pick your brain on some other things as well. But my pleasure. I think it's time for the classic signature question of Think Tank Thursday. So, Kevin, what do you do to help grow yourself and others?
So to help others, I try and share as much information as possible. Anyone who's read the Stinger report knows that it's mental health care for me. It allows me to deposit all of the stuff that I've had to research into a format and then share that with the industry. So I'm giving at least something back. And I hope that those that have that received the Stinger report have got some benefit from that, as well as our writing. So again, the writing that I do for Replay, for tourist attractions and parks, for vending times, for Interpark, for Interfun, all of those trade publications, I hope I can impart at least some information that is useful. For myself, I love research. You know, as soon as I've finished this Zoom conference, and then I've got one other on my calendar after this, and then I will be slipping into a large drink and doing a little bit of more research for an article that, funny enough, I'm writing for Randy. So that is how I grow myself, is by constantly trying to find information. And this goes back to many of your listeners and watchers will know this. It's a story I always whip out as my cover story. But, you know, when my father first saw the first articles of me being talked about in the industry, he goes, "Well, it's quite nice to see that, Kevin, but, you know, I've got one issue." And I went, "Oh, here we go. What is it, Dad?" And he goes, "They keep on calling you an expert." And he goes, "The dictionary definition of an expert is someone who stops learning. You're a specialist."
Oh, I love that. I'm going to throw you another one. What do you do for fun right now?
I don't know. That's a tricky one. Well, when there isn't a pandemic, is being with my fiance, and restauranting and barring and busman's holidays of going to other facilities. I write but my writing is mainly trade based.
Yeah.
But I enjoyed that immensely. I get that from my mother. I design, but again, that's business related.
Yeah.
So to answer the question, what activities do I do that aren't business related? I have none. Because even the drinks and cocktails I consume have an indirect link to the hospitality industry.
Well, it sounds like your parents got it right when they told you to find something that you're passionate about.
Exactly.
Well, this has been fantastic. Tell everybody, if they want to know more about Kevin Williams, where do they find you? Where do they connect with you?
So you can find me on LinkedIn. You can find me on Facebook. Kevin Williams, KWP should get you there through the search on both of those mediums. The Stinger Report has a Twitter account and is soon to have a new website. Hurrah!
Yay!
Oh yeah, we've been dragged kicking and screaming into the 21st century. Yes, we've got we're going to have a proper website again. There's a long story why we stopped doing a website, which again is something we can talk about over a drink. A lot of things are changing. So as I was talking about previously about having to evolve, sadly, my consultancy and the Stinger Report and my writing has to evolve. Well, not sadly, happily. But it's a burden when you're a stick in the mud like me. You know, when you've been doing the Stinger Report for the last 26, 27 years, you kind of get set in your ways. And so we're going through a new update. We're trying to make it much more inclusive to the audience that's following it. So if you can't find me in those, the Facebook or on the joys of LinkedIn, then you can just simply email me at kwp@thestingerreport.com, and I'm always open to having a chat if I can fit you into our schedule.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you to everyone out there for spending this time with me. Surprisingly, I'm apparently more long-winded than Beth because all of my think tanks end up being longer than hers, but I hope you stuck it out with us and it's fantastic information. Thank you again to our 2021 digital sponsors that you see on the side there. And then we need Think Tank guests. So if you want to be on Think Tank and spend some time with Beth or myself, just email me, Candi@TrainerTainment.net, and we will get you set up and bring you in here and we'll talk about what you're thinking about this week. Bye, everybody. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you again next time.